Alright, welcome back to the Supercoach Nuff channel. In this video we're going to preview round 26 of the 2025 NRL Supercoach season. So it's Supercoach head-to-head finals week, and what a great time to be alive. And I guess we'll look at the most popular trade-ins and trade-outs. For those that have trades left, most likely, looking for upside this week in their head-to-head finals. So I guess with the curveball that Penrith have rested their whole team, it's fair that the top players out, two of the top three are from the Panthers. So won't spend too much time on the outs because obviously not playing this week. Dylan Edwards rested, Harry Grant suspended, Nathan Cleary rested, Adam Dewey injured, Garrick injured, Katoa rested, Walker injured, Kickout injured, McInnes injured. Obviously, they're not useful to you this week, so you can trade them out. James Tedesco, number 10, is very interesting, though. Does have a toughish fixture against the Storm, but given how inconsistent the Roosters have been this year, there's a good chance they'll be up for this game. And consequently, James Tedesco, I think, can score just as well as anyone. So, yeah, if he's the one you're trading out, you obviously haven't got a lot of these other guys. So, I don't know who else you've got that you would be keeping in place of Tedesco. In terms of the trade-ins this week, this is probably more of a discussion point. So number one on the list, Nico Hines. Nice matchup against the Knights, who look like they're going without Adam O'Brien next year. So limping into the end of the year. Obviously, if you're looking for an Nathan Cleary replacement, he is the obvious choice. So I think that's a good pick. Reece Walsh is expensive, but I think he's around the same price point as a Dylan Edwards. If I can find Edwards on the list here, I think he did miss a few with injury. So it is a straight swap, Edwards to Walsh. I think that's a pretty good shout going into this week's matchup against the Cowboys. Blake Brayley at hooker, obviously a nice straight swap for Harry Grant. Hopefully he does run from dummy half and create some chaos. Tom Trbojevic, at a cheaper price is a great replacement for Dylan Edwards. So yeah, I do like that pick. Sort of an interesting game against the Dragons this week. Who knows what sort of team is going to show up for either of these guys? But as he showed last week, on his day, no one has a higher ceiling than Tommy Turbo. Jeremy Marshall King, so another potential Harry Grant replacement. And again, a nice matchup against the Titans. He does have the ability to create some attack. So with I guess their final spot on the line, hopefully the Dolphins lift. Big Tino, I think, yep, at 500k, he's a pretty nice, safe option. So you can bring him in. Kale Iro back in the team this week from his, I think it was bicep injury. He'll be a massive point of difference in your head-to-head finals. So if I had one trade left, I think he would be the one I would target over some of these other guys. Just big fan of his work, good base, has the, upside against the Knights. He is going to win some people their head-to-head leagues this weekend. Hudson Young, a nice matchup against the Tigers. Considering we were getting him at 700k earlier this year, 600 below 600k is an absolute steal for what he can produce. Lehigh Hopewadi, so is named on the wing, but has scored well there before. I guess obviously a lot cheaper than a KL Euro, so this is bargain basement type stuff. And the last one, Ethan Strange. Again, another one I can't begrudge people bringing in this week. Good matchup, in form. Um, you know, just hope he scores well. And again, could be that point of difference that wins you your head to head league. So pretty boring that I agreed with more or less everything other than maybe Tedesco out is a bit iffy. I don't want filters, I want the captaincy shout. So let's see what the top 1% are doing. These are the guys that are really thinking about it for the overall. The most popular captain this week, most people have him in the top 1%, Nico Hines. So obviously, without him, I'm not doing as well, but that's all right. If you've got him, makes sense. Reece Walsh at number 2, so not highly owned, but a good proportion of those that do own are captaining him. A couple that I've got: James Tedesco, Jaden Campbell, so highly owned in the top 1%, and very highly rated as captaincy options. Scotty Drinkwater, Tom Trbojevic. So maybe Drinkwater's a bit of a holdover from last week. Tough matchup against the Bronx, but they are up in Townsville, so that's helpful. Payne Haas, apparently under a bit of an injury cloud, but if he gets up, he's always a captaincy option. Terrell May, Big Tino, and then Ronaldo Mulatalo. So very much a pod in the top 1%, but a few people backing him to go big against the Knights this week. So that's a pretty interesting one. The VC options. So Jacob Kiraz tonight against the second string Panthers. I think that makes absolute sense. Um, Reece Walsh, number 2. Yep, so these guys we've already looked at. Teddy Campbell, Zach Lomax in the conversation against Para, and a few people like me who haven't yet traded out Nathan Cleary, or at least subbed him out in my case. So, with all that said, the plan for this week. So, I guess a few outs have made decisions a bit easier. We already knew Harry Grant was out, so Kurt Donahue comes in. We got another spot on the bench, so Big Tino comes in. Although, actually, Katoa needs to go out, so we'll put Tino on field for the moment. Although he does play in the last game, so he'll probably end up on the bench. We might have to make a decision here regarding Connor Watson, perhaps, but we'll leave it for a minute. So Katoa gets the start with Cleary out this week. KO Weeks we were trying to find a spot for him. He now has one, so he's on the bench. With Edwards out, Tom Trbojevic comes in. Adam Dewey out. We'll put Gagai in. So it still leaves us with 2 reserves from Watson, Bradley, who's on the wing for the Storm, Karapani, and Fletcher Hunt. So Karapani up against the Cowboys, Hunt up against the Sharks, who were in a bit of a lull, but they've risen again. I think Karapani is worth an upside shout, and then Watson's been disappointing of late, but I guess with season on the line, do they back him in? I don't know if the Uelu trade has worked. It's one of those things, I guess. If Watson is named on the bench, I could flip to Bradley. I'm assuming he's on the wing with Coates out. So yeah, that's a bit of a wait and see, I think, on that one. But I guess for the purpose of this video, I'll put Watson in. And then vice captain, captain. As I said, the obvious choice now is Jacob Kiraz as vice captain. First game of the round, plenty of loops options, so we'll just lock that in. And then the captaincy, if that goes by the wayside, so we did lose a bit of ground last week, so I don't know whether playing it safe is the smartest option. But who is the upside pick? Tom Trbojevic against the Saints. Teddy against the Storm, potentially. Katoa against Titans. Let's have a look. How highly owned is Katoa? Would this be a pod move? He's in 17% of teams, and he definitely didn't feature in that top 10 captaincy shout. You know, a lot of people would be going Hines in that position. Let's go with Izzy Katoa, captain extraordinaire. As we said, we do hope Kiros goes massive tonight, and then we don't need to worry about it too much. Uh, might have to bring Harry Grant back in or something, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But we'll wrap the video up there. So as always, if you've got any questions, comments, thoughts, feel free to add them below this video. Also below this video, you'll see the links for the NFL Supercoach. There's only about 1 week before kickoff. So there's a couple of spots in a head-to-head league. You can join the open league as well. Those links are in the description. Give us a like if you do enjoy the NRL content. Subscribe for all that fantasy sports content we've still got on the channel. And other than that, we'll catch you in the next one.